Electricity Minister Ramaphosa has described stage 6 of load shedding as an outlier and a setback that should be a thing of the past this coming week. And the outcome of the application by Timothy Omotoso's legal counsel, Peter Doberman, is expected to be delivered this coming week as well. A very good afternoon. We're coming to you live from our studios here in Auckland Park, Johannesburg. Thank you very much for tuning in. You're watching The Week Ahead. You can interact with us on social media platforms. It's at Week Ahead. Our hashtag is The Week Ahead. I'm your host, Mfundo Mabala. Now, leading our bulletin this hour, Electricity Minister Ramaphosa has described stage 6 of load shedding as an outlier and a setback that should be a thing of the past this coming week. 9 units broke down at Eskom power stations over the weekend. This was due to boiler tube leaks that saw losses in generation capacity. The minister says a team of technicians are working around the clock to minimize the current electricity supply constraints, with 2 of the 9 units that were broke down now back. Ramaphosa says load shedding will be taken down to stage 4 on Wednesday.
So essentially we had 9 units that contributed to this 4,400 over a space of 2 days. So it's a cluster of these units failing simultaneously, and a lot of these units are big units. So they are big units. When I say big units, an individual unit is generating about 600 megawatts. So Letabo, we had the units going out. Matimba, we had the unit going out. Duva, we had the unit going out. Majuba, we had the unit going out. Each of those units at those individual power stations, they were each taking out 600 megawatts. And then when you combine them with Grootvlei, then and Letabo 5 also, and Krill, 4,400 megawatts went out over that period of 2 days. So essentially, it's about, if you like, to use the nomenclature of load shedding, it's like 4 stages of load shedding, essentially imposed on us as a result of this boiler tube leak. And you must juxtapose this with the fact that our planned maintenance is still at about 7,000 megawatts. So someone was saying, but why are you not cutting down quickly on planned maintenance? We are calling it planned maintenance because it has been planned. The engine is out there fixing it. And like I said, don't cut corners. If it means that you ramp up the intensity of load shedding for purposes of ensuring that we do the right things, return the units healthier, we are going to do this, explain ourselves to the country. Short-term pain, long-term gain, that's the point I'm making. Of these 9 units that had gone out, I'm happy to mention that 2 of these units have since come back. Letabo 5 has come back, Grill 2 has come back. And then also I know that they are working on getting one of the units in Medupi to come back. I'm sure Becky will give us an additional information on how far we on those. And then we are expecting to return these units, to return this 4,400, the 3,400 megawatts, because we have already returned the 1,000 megawatts. We expect the last of these units that failed on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to return by Wednesday of this week. And that's when by Tuesday we are going to see significant reduction going back to those levels 4, 3, 2, and 1, and also periodically not having load shedding on starting Wednesday going forward. Of course, there could be a situation where during that period we go a little bit a stage lower, perhaps stage 5, just to manage the reserves, the dam levels. It's a consideration that will be made. But for purposes of getting to those levels of stage 4 and lower, we are projecting that we'll get that by Wednesday. And then the second part about the prospects of the immediate prospects going into the future is that as part of that planned maintenance, a significant proportion of these units are now expected to come back towards the beginning and end of March. So we'll be moving from levels of 7,000 megawatts. We are going to lower levels, about 6,000, 5,000. And that's where you are going to see significant improvement on the intensity of load shedding. And we expect that there could be periods during the day where you don't have load shedding.
Now, earlier we spoke to energy analyst Professor Samson Mamphwele on the electricity crisis.
Apart from the fact that the coal fleet seems to be giving a lot of problems, there are other positives that are coming out of the President's Energy Action Plan. We have seen, for instance, new generation capacity coming from the private sector. We've seen the private sector registering about 10,000 megawatts of new generation capacity with NERSA. So if you look at the horizon in terms of what will be the state of the grid when that 10,000 megawatts comes on board, one can easily say that within a year or two, then things might change for the better. We've seen, because of the reforms that were brought in by government, the inclusion of the rebate program, for instance, that has led to 4 gigawatts of rooftop solar PV installed by private individuals and households. That if that trend continues, then if you look at the horizon, you can then be able to agree with the president that there are a lot of positives going forward, and one can then agree that load shedding will be able to be dealt with. On the flip side, when you look at the coal fleet, the performance of the coal fleet, we're still sitting with a lot of uncertainty. And that uncertainty is coming because of the historic nature of the way the coal fleet was dealt with. I heard Katlego asking the minister whether these are some of the issues that came because the coal fleet was not necessarily properly maintained in the past, and the answer is yes. The coal fleet was not properly maintained in the past, and it was run hard, for a lack of a better word. And what we're seeing now is the failure that happens unpredictably so, which is why even ESCOM at some point they wake up not knowing what will fail where. And I saw the issue around the statements that they issue. Sometimes they within an hour something drastic happens and they're forced to issue a statement immediately in the middle of the night, and all those kind of things. And some of these statements will say we're replenishing the generation reserves. But in the background, there is some failure that has happened that has led them to replenishing these generation reserves. So what government needs to do, in my view, and we've been advising as well, is that they need to make liquid cash available to the Minister of Electricity and to ESCOM for them to do what they've done with the Quebec power station, for instance, where they took down the unit, fixed everything over and above the work that they were reporting to the nation. They were looking at the total renewal of that particular unit. So when that unit comes back to life, it is reliable. It can give us longevity. It can give us reliability for quite a long time. So what is happening now is that government gave ESCOM money, about 256 billion rand, to basically service their debt, and with the hope that they can use their balance sheet to fix the coal fleet. I don't think that is working to an extent that government would have anticipated. We see glimpses of improvements here and there. When they started with the maintenance program, we were sitting at about 18,000 megawatts. In terms of unplanned capacity loss factor, which is basically your breakdowns. Today, we're sitting at about 15,000 megawatts. So it has worked to that particular extent of saying plus or minus 3,000 megawatts where they were able to fix. But the problem is still the inherent problem of the unpredictability of these units, which basically means that instead of fixing the units that are breaking down, we need to then take down all the units one by one or in a particular kind of sequence, and then maintain them, even if it means putting the country on stage 3 load shedding for a year. We need to do that. Because we know that after a year, we will have reliability and reliable supply of electricity. That is what I think needs to happen. But I appreciate the fact that there's quite a lot of other initiatives that government has brought on board that are assisting in terms of dealing with load shedding, apart from the fact that the coal fleet is still problematic.
All right, let's shift our focus to this story now. Gauteng government will employ 32,000 youth brigades as teacher assistants via Nasispani. Premier Panyaza Lesufi is leading that initiative. Let's listen in.
Many people don't understand this. They say we live in a world of emails. I should have just sent an email to you. To me, an email is called Ditaba, Dimonati Mashong, Rishebani, Ribua Gaufen. Ditaba, Dimonati Mashong, Rishebani. Whether they not drink op or sweet 8, but Rishebani. So I've called you today to say, as the Premier of Gauteng, through you, I'm sending a message to the Minister of Social Development that all these 32,000 children that are here, all these 32 children, young people that are here, all these 32,000 people that are gathered in this stadium today, Minister of Social Development, keep your social grant. We don't need social grant for these people. We will employ them to work and stand on their own. You don't need social grant, you need salaries. You don't need handouts. You don't need food parcels. You want to buy food on yourselves, on your own, at your own time, every day, so that you can contribute to the economy of this country. I've called you today to say I'm removing you officially from the list of the unemployed. I'm bringing you to the list of the employed in Gauteng government. That is where I'm bringing you. And I want you to count with me. In your appointment letter, should I extend it with 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months? I'm extending it forever until national government explain where you are going to be employed when they announce this particular thing. This is where we are taking you, so that you can be part of youth development, you can be part of working for your own family, you can be part of assisting your own children, you can be part of assisting your own families, you can be part of the development of this province. This is your country, this is your province, you deserve better. Are you still here? Are you still here?
Upanyazalona upanyazalo abamazio abazange bambone abazange bambona abazange bambona abazange bambona upanyazalo na abamazio
Those are live visuals where Gauteng Premier Panyazale Sufi is addressing the Nasispani gathering. 32,000 youth brigades are set to be employed as teacher assistants as part of that initiative. As you can see there, a musical item with many of those young people quite excited at the opportunity. Well, more news on the other side of this break. Do stay with us. Welcome back. Thank you very much for staying with us. Now, the outcome of the application by Timothy Omotoso's legal counsel, Peter Doberman, for Judge Irma Schoeman to reconsider her ruling denying the withdrawal of charges against Omotoso and co-accused Lusanda Sulani and Zukiswa Sito is expected to be delivered. Doberman says the first prosecutor in the case, Nqebantelwa, evidently influenced one of the witnesses to commit perjury, and that tainted the credibility of the rest of the witnesses. We're joined now by Mpumelelo Zikalala of Zikalala Attorneys. Mpumelelo, good afternoon and thank you for your time.
Good afternoon to you, also good afternoon to your viewers.
No, it's a pleasure to have you with us. So the outcome of the latest application is expected. Now, given Judge Irma's previous ruling that though there was a degree of unfairness, it didn't prejudice Omotoso or warrant a discharge, do you foresee a similar ruling or not?
I don't think that ruling is going to change. The judge is simply going to stick to what was stated earlier. Remember, what's governing or what is controlling these proceedings is the Criminal Procedure Act that says here's a test or is a method that is utilized to test whether the evidence which you are going to receive from each of the witnesses is authentic or not. Now, to simply blend them together or give them one blanket and say, because we're in this WhatsApp group, there are certain discussions that were taking place. We're not going to tell the truth, and certain prejudice which is going to take place. It is simply something that a court will arrive easily at. So I think the judge is going to come back and say, my ruling still stands. I want those witnesses to come to the witness box to be able to provide their evidence. If there's any inconsistency that is going to apply, there are rules which are applicable to this court through cross-examination. Use that to display to the court that there must be some type of cohesion or a concoction that has taken place in this particular matter.
But that's what Doberman is arguing, that there was some type of coercion here, because he says that Advocate Nqebantelwa entangled himself with the witnesses to secure the conviction by just forming that WhatsApp group to communicate with witnesses collectively. So would that not be something that would be considered to be some form of coercion?
Considered, yes, but let's look at to the extent of the coercion. What was being discussed, did it have any influence in the evidence that just came about? The most basic questions which would need to be asked by the court: is there any lying that has taken place or distortion of the truth that has taken place to make sure that you come back with a conviction? If the answer is yes, then maybe on that side you may find in favor of Mr. Omotoso. But if there's no evidence of such, it hasn't been tested at all, then it's on those bases in which the court is going to say, even though they were put in one group, even though there's some type of irregularity that has taken place, that particular irregularity cannot suffice or is not sufficient to completely rule out this particular case and say that there's going to be an element of unfairness, especially because you still have other remedies which are applicable to you at the end of the case or after you've been found guilty as the person who's an accused. If you go to the appeal court, the SCA, that's where you're going to state all those things and maybe the SCA will rule in your favor. But to simply come with those assertions at this stage, it is too early, and simply it's not going to be in the interest of justice for a matter to be simply wished away just because there were certain people that were placed in one WhatsApp group. The extent of the influence has not been displayed to the court, or the results of that influence has not been observed, or is evident enough to then warrant that the case be simply be struck off the roll of the charges be withdrawn.
All right. So meaning that the SCA might possibly be the better platform to challenge the fairness of the trial. But then Judge Schoeman herself was quite critical of the behavior of Advocate Ntelwa with regards to that forming of the WhatsApp group and coercing or attempting to coerce the witnesses. So would that work in Omotoso's favor here? That when Doberman, beyond the conclusion of the trial, goes to the SCA, that they could use this very statement where there was a level of admonishing of Ntelwa?
It would start from there, but the most important part would be, what is the results of the formation of the WhatsApp group? What is the results of the coercion? Did it have any bearing whatsoever into the court extracting the truth of what exactly happened on that day? If the answer to that is no, then certainly, even though it has taken place, it is an irregular step that ought not to have taken place. However, it hasn't tainted what the court is supposed to look at the end of the day. So if there's other evidential material, for example, J88, other people are going to come in and provide strong, credible evidence to say that indeed the crimes in which you have been accused of, you have committed them, then despite the fact of that irregularity taking place, it is not the only thing in which the court is going to rely on and simply say to you, when you must now whisk away these charges that have been faced against you. So it's a multi-phase process that needs to be done. Phase one, prove that there is a WhatsApp group and some type of bringing in together of the witnesses that was there and some type of coercion that has taken place. But most importantly, what is the result of the coercion? Did it have any material impact on the case or on the outcome of the case and even of the evidence? If the answer is yes, then it would go in your favor. If the answer is no, then it ought to go into the state's favor.
But Mpumelelo Ntelwa eventually recused himself. So in this instance, for the ordinary man, perhaps explain it to us in the most simple of terms. Section 35, subsection 3 of the Constitution, if my memory serves me correctly, speaks of the right of the accused in this instance and details just how they need to be treated and the fairness of a trial. So for those that seek to elevate this particular section of the Constitution to say, based on this and the fact that Mr. Ntelwa had to then recuse himself, it would be strong enough to say the trial was unfair, so they need to be discharged. What of those people that hold those views?
Well, those rights are there. They're applicable to you as a person who's an accused individual. But you must go to the full extent to the unfairness that has taken place. But most importantly, let's look at the results of the unfairness that has taken place. If the unfairness has no material impact at all, meaning at the end of the day, despite that WhatsApp group being formed, despite those witnesses sitting in together and discussing the evidence that is there, if at the end of the day the court is able to come back and say, despite that having taken place, but there's overwhelming evidence which there's to me as the court, I must found you guilty, then you must also look at the interest of the victims in this case to say to them, you cannot be faulted, you cannot bear the brunt of the failure of the state to conduct itself in line with the Criminal Procedure Act, and you are going to suffer at the end of the day as a person who, the people who are the victims. At the end of the day, a crime has been committed. There's a person who is a victim and who's seeking justice from our courts. And our courts are quite clear. Even our law, they're quite clear in terms of saying we are going to balance the interests of both parties, that being the state and also being that of the accused. And if there are any transgressions that have taken place, let's investigate whether the transgression does exist. But most importantly, the impact of the transgression in us finding the truth and the results which are going to come from the court.
All right. So it's never a blanket approach here. They will weigh the interests of the accused against the victims and also just looking at the evidence before them as the court. Mpumelelo, thank you very much as always for your insights. That's attorney Mpumelelo Zikalala speaking to us. More news on the other side of this break. Stay with us. Welcome back. The spotlight is once again on scholar transport and poor oversight in ensuring the safety of learners. The school year has already witnessed a series of scholar transport-related accidents across the country, claiming the lives of young learners. Among them, 12-year-old Kagiso Maloka from Modisele Primary School in Garankuwa, north of Pretoria. He tragically lost his life when he fell off the scholar transport vehicle he was travelling in last Thursday.
A heart-wrenching farewell for the 12-year-old learner, and even more tragic for his sister who witnessed the accident. Kagiso Maloka died apparently after falling from the scholar transport bus. The family wants answers.
I'm expecting the bus company on the 17th. I'm expecting the MEC, and I'm expecting the school. So I gave them time. They requested time to go make investigations. So I have given them enough time. So we are waiting for them to come. But so far, there is nothing that we can really say.
Parents have also expressed concerns about the transport system.
Education is very failure because no aba sa tlhabale teng di contract tsa bona di expiring so gora gore bana ba rena aba safe mo dibeseng.
Those buses are old ones, so they must take those buses out and bring another new one. The kids are not safe on the roads.
The provincial department indicated that service providers are constantly monitored to ensure compliance with transport regulations. Officials, however, say there'll be consequences if the law has been flouted.
We have, coordinators, which will then be coming from the district offices. Their responsibility is to monitor at all times, to check on whether buses are transporting all the learners, buses, doing all their routes. Do we have enough buses for all the routes? Because sometimes you find a service provider use one bus, drop off learners and then go into other areas again. And those are the things that are detected by coordinators at all times. They will monitor, and if we find them doing that, we will then probably penalize them as per what we've agreed, with the service provider.
Education activists have called on government to ensure that extra caution is exercised by service providers. Meanwhile, the provincial department is yet to give a report of the investigation surrounding the death of Lair School Queenswood pupil Latoya Temilton, who drowned during a school excursion last month. Mulimo wa Omotoso, SABC News, Pretoria.
Now, still on school matters, claims of an outdated uniform policy that does not accommodate the LGBTQI community emerged during a debate at a school in Gqeberha in the Eastern Cape. Learners who identify as lesbians at Lungisa High School claim they were being singled out, harassed and ridiculed for wearing trousers. Now, calls are being made for there to be a better discussion or a review of the policy of this particular matter. Well, we'll go back to this particular story as soon as we can locate the Eastern Cape Department of Education spokesperson. Let's, however, shift our focus to this story now. The community of Khalakwena at Steel Loop in Limpopo is pleading with the provincial government to construct a road in their area. The residents use a gravel road that connects several villages. They say they are not able to access essential services due to the poor state of the road.
The 20-kilometer stretch of gravel road connects 12 villages. Community members say they have been engaging with the Limpopo provincial government without success for more than 9 years.
Been having these problems, and then we have been promised by the Department of Road and Transport and the Department of Public Works, which are the main people who are supposed to address it. But we don't have road at the moment.
The situation is worsened by heavy rains. Residents at Khalakwena say it affects services such as access to health care.
This road is very bad, very, very bad, extremely bad. We are struggling all the time. So I think today our matter will be resolved.
Ambulances use this road and it is bad. Most of the time, patients reach the hospital in a worse state than they were before the ambulance arrive. The road is among the projects that are earmarked for upgrades. The Provincial Department of Public Works says its engineers are finalizing a preliminary report on the designs for a tar road.
We are aware of the condition of the road at Khalakwena village in the Waterberg district, and we also want to take this opportunity and indicate that we have a backlog of gravel roads in the province where we are having about 14,000 kilometers of gravel, and that is the backlog that we are having. And as and when we have budget available, we are able to prioritize these communities, and we remain determined to ensure that we service communities such as this one as and when a budget becomes available.
The community says they were promised that more than 200 million will be set aside for the tarring of the road. The department says areas such as Khalakwena will be considered once budget allocation has been made. Brenda Nerali-Pasha, SABC News, Stwelop in Limpopo.
Let's take you back to this story. Claims of an outdated uniform policy that does not accommodate the LGBTQI community emerged during a debate at a school in Gqeberha in the Eastern Cape. Learners who identify as lesbians at Lungisa High School claim they are being singled out, harassed and ridiculed for wearing trousers. Now, calls are being made for the policy to be reviewed. For more on this, we're now joined by Eastern Cape Department of Education spokesperson Malibongwe Mtima. Mr. Mtima, good afternoon and thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon, ma'am, and thanks for having me.
No, it's a pleasure to have you with us. So where exactly does the department stand on this matter? Because we know several LGBTQI learners have died by suicide after being forced to conform to the gender roles in school.
Actually, as the department, we by all means try to uphold the Constitution, which champions the equality amongst people, irrespective of their gender, creed, and culture. Despite that, there are still pockets in our schools where this is disregarded, as exemplified by this one. But as a department, we take exception, and as such, we've plowed in some officials to ensure that they educate and create an awareness amongst these ones, because generally, the ETO in each and every school is supposed to act as an advisor when it comes to issues of this nature, which is school policy and code of conduct. And he or she is supposed to work with our legal services to ensure that every school is adhering to the Constitution. In this regard, we believe this just slips through our fingers, and as such, we have plowed in some resources to ensure that the school, this is brought to the attention of the school. Number one, they are aware that they are breaking the law, because as the department, we promote inclusiveness amongst our learners. We don't promote discrimination of any kind.
Because it's caused great distress to these pupils, because their parents stated that the children don't feel comfortable wearing dresses. They generally would prefer to wear the boys' trousers. And then they were told that, okay, you can wear the school tracksuits in the interim while this matter is still being resolved. And then they went to school in the school tracksuit, and then they were still sent back from school, humiliated in front of their friends.
The reports we got on Friday was that the ETO and the district has already visited the school as instructed by us. And also we received some positive news, because it seemed as if while our guys visited the school on Friday, on Thursday there was a session that was held by the school wherein the ETO informed them of this and reminded them of what the school policy is saying, that we do not discriminate learners irrespective of gender, culture, and creed. And as such, the school policy should be inclusive. We are aware that a number of parents are not happy with that because of their beliefs, etc., etc. But our role as the department is to uphold the policy and the Constitution, and as such, the people that we've deployed there, their intention is strictly to ensure that such a school policy is transformed to reflect the current paradigm, which is it must be democratic, it must ensure that it has inclusivity. Number three, we are all serving to ensure that learners study or learn in a conducive environment. This is meant for that.
I fully appreciate that parents might have different views on this particular matter around inclusivity, but yours is to deal with the school itself, the educators. Is this not indicative of an inability on your part to ensure that the message filters down to these schools in the Eastern Cape? Because yes, we're singling out this particular school, but one wonders if there aren't a number of other schools in the Eastern Cape that are actually doing their own thing and sending children back home because they're not wearing what they would consider to be the appropriate uniform for a boy child or a girl child.
Fortunate for us is that we are going towards the election of new SGPs. We have not only taken this as a blind side from us, we've also taken this as one of the issues that we need to understand. Because remember, when we elect SGPs or when we appoint educators, we give them a resource file that have the school policy for them, so that anything they do, it must be in line with the school policy and or the Constitution. That's with the educators. With the SGPs, we train them consistently. And we since we have identified this, we believe training everyone will be a part of the SGP on this matter will help us go a long way. Because remember, there are always a pocket of parents who would like to see things being doing their way, and so at times they have the muscle to change what the SGP would like. All we are saying is that irrespective of their feelings, we have to uphold the law. Number one. Number two, like I said, to this came to us as a wake-up call, so that we include issues of this thing, issues of GPV in our own training of SGP and educators. Remember, there are consistent trainings that we undertake to ensure that our schools become a neutral ground for everyone to thrive. We do not want a situation where learners are idle or are profiled by others based on their gender or grade. Hence, we are going all out to ensure that while we're going to train these ones now and create an awareness, we are going to make sure that this forms part of the ultimate syllabus that we have for new SGPs who are going to ascend into power, also for new educators, because despite the fact that we include this in the resource file, there's something that we give to newly appointees. We call it a resource file. It's always there. We believe this is professional capacity on them, and as such, we're going to press more to ensure that they understand the impact of this.
So what is the status of the draft guidelines on socio-educational inclusion? Because that would eliminate a number of these problems. I remember back in 2023, it was going to go out for public comment. What is the status on that?
Thus far, the National Office is managing that, and we believe it's at an advanced stage. But as the implementers of the law, we have to ensure that everybody is not left behind. Because should we leave behind anyone, we may have pockets of this nature. Hence, we have taken this thing as a wake-up call, and a very, very serious one. Because, like I said to you, we are training people on this matter. We didn't know that there could be pockets of this nature somewhere in our school, and as such, we have taken exception to ensure that we plow as much human resource and as much information as possible, so that we create or we harness the situation, because ours is to create a conducive teaching and learning environment for our learners, irrespective of their background.
Now, when you speak of a conducive environment, you're also speaking of progressive policies, but these must be accompanied by progressive infrastructure such as gender-neutral toilets, as some have called for, including those guidelines that have been proposed. They also call for such, that there should be an addition of a gender-neutral toilet beyond the boy-child and girl-child toilets that everybody's accustomed to. In your engagement with parents and teachers, do you get a sense that they're ready for this shift?
Look, a majority are embracing this because they understand that should we exclude this part of our society, we will not be doing justice. And as such, they believe in inclusivity. But there are still some that we still need to press more to educate so that they understand this. Because remember, we in our society, we don't, even as a parent, you don't identify your child with a sexual orientation. You identify your child as your child, and as the department, we don't profile learners based on their sexual orientation. We look at learners as learners, irrespective of their belief, Christian belief or religious belief, their creed, their gender. We don't look at that. We look at the child holistically. Hence, we are taking offense in this, and as such, we've plowed so many resources to ensure that this thing is nipped in with the roots, or from the roots, to ensure that at the end of the day, we don't only educate these parents, we don't only educate these learners, we don't only educate these principals and or educators. We create ambassadors in them in the near future, so that they know this is an infringement of a constitutional right of every individual who is in our school. And our school should be neutral, should allow everyone to thrive. In this regard, their approach not allowing every learner to thrive. We are stepping our foot to say, no, the policy is saying this, irrespective of who you are.
All right. Mr. Ntima, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. That was Eastern Cape Department of Education spokesperson Malibongwe Ntima speaking to us. More news on the other side of this break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Thank you very much for staying with us. Now, community patrollers in Orange Farm, south of Johannesburg, have accused police of attempting to suppress their efforts to fight crime in the area. They're convinced that some police officers are benefiting from criminal activities by protecting criminals in the area. The patrollers were appointed as part of a community-driven program to assist police in fighting crime and keeping the community safe.
These community patrollers don't sleep at night trying to fight crime in their area.
However, they say they are the ones that have been treated like criminals by police. They claim Orange Farm police are protecting the criminals they apprehend and even advising some of them to open cases of assault against street patrollers.
We all know ukuthi ama street patrollers before azoyenza lo msebenzi awenza they all need to be vetted. But mastata ama street patrollers to go to the police station to get vetted. They refuse to take ama fingerprints up. They say they are not part of the patrollers. I don't know how. Because before they were vetted and then we were also vetted ngaleyo ndlela, but now they are forcing the patrollers to sign amaphepha so that they can fall under CPF. And they know kahle ukuthi we don't fall under CPF. We are street patrollers. And then we are helped by JMPG, but they don't want to acknowledge us. Every time when there are cases which are coming to the police station, they say they don't know us. Even if the patrollers are patrolling around the area, they tell them that they must stop what they are doing. They are going to call the police to arrest them.
The patrollers say they are convinced that the police are working with criminals.
One of the things that I would actually say, Oguti, they convince us that SABC is actually working with some of these criminals. It cannot be correct that you get a suspect with all the exhibitions that are known to be very dangerous to the community as well, and most especially those exhibits are not only seen by us as patrollers, but in that space would be having TRU as well, you understand, to assist us in arresting that very same suspect. And then after the arrest it has been done, then you discover that that suspect was never arrested, but instead the suspect is working there at police station with the police, and that person on top of that did not even go and appear to the police station. You understand? If you question to the court, if you question that to them, then they tell you their story that they don't have any powers to decide what the court should decide about the suspect. You understand?
The police's head of communications in Gauteng, Brigadier Brenda Mridili, says patrollers who have been arrested will get the opportunity to answer to assault charges in their pending cases. She, however, says patrollers should be trained properly and equipped to work with the community under the supervision of the Community Police Forum and police officers. SABC News, Orange Farm.
The Eastern Cape Health Department says Blount's disease that causes a bowing of the lower limbs is common in the rural areas of the then Transkei homeland. The bowing of legs can occur at the early ages of life, just after 2 years, sometimes later around 10 years. The Bedford Orthopedic Section of the Nelson Mandela Academic Hospital specializes in corrective procedures. This is to assist those who have the disease. This mostly benefits children, restoring their confidence. SABC reporter Nkululeko Nyembezi, as well as video journalist Netemba Blandile, filed this report.
Blount's disease is common in Central Africa and in the southern parts of the continent. In South Africa, this condition is rife among children in the then Transkei homeland. The bowing of the legs mostly affects the self-esteem, something this center aims to address. And in the past 2 years, they have successfully operated on over 40 children, and some have recently started their healing journey.
Me going to school, basically, I usually got mocked of the way I look, of the way my legs were, previously were. But I didn't comments. I didn't let that affect me.
I'm very happy. I have no words that I was helped here, and I'm happy that I'm almost done and I'm almost there. I didn't think that I would get to this point. I didn't really have hope, but now I can see progress and I'm very happy with the outcome.
This procedure does not only end on the operating table, but it is a process that involves different health sections.
If we look at these children, us as orthopedic surgeons, we are correcting the bowing, right, which is the crookedness of the legs. And we have to involve the endocrinologist in order to look from the metabolic side of things, right?
Each case is unique and requires proper planning.
For the past 2 years, more than 40 cases which were done. We've learned a lot that each and every one of them come with a different deformity which needs a different planning. So basically all of them, they need to be planned individually. And some of the cases, they come at a very later stage as this disease affects them as young as more than 2 years of age. They can also occur at a later stage at about 10 years.
Provincial Health says its aim is to ensure confidence is restored in their young patients.
We are very happy that the impact that our doctors are making, not only the physical surgery performed, but also the psychological impact, the confidence that is transferred to these children. Because now we've heard their stories, their experiences when they were in their communities. Now they're going to leave this hospital being assisted, being operated, and they will be able now to walk confidently and play like any other children.
An appeal has been made for parents whose children have this condition to come forward early so that the procedure is done while they are still young. Kululeko Nyembezi, SABC News, Mthatha.
Over 250 households are set to get fresh, clean water from a spring water protection project in Alice in the Eastern Cape. The residents from the Sompondo and Kukuga villages have been struggling to access clean water for years. The Provincial Department of Rural Development and Agrarian Reform assisted these communities by connecting water pipes from the spring to communal taps.
It's been a struggle for the communities of the Sompondo and Kukuga villages to access clean drinking water. The area has been experiencing water outages for years, forcing residents to travel long distances to get water. The spring water project has brought some relief. Residents use the water for food security and to alleviate poverty.
This water project has been very helpful because now we can work on our gardens. We use this water for irrigation, yet before we were relying on rainwater. Now we can plant veggies in our gardens and sell our products and make money.
We have been struggling to get water for the past 5 years. In most instances, we used to get water from the river, but now it's better because we can do house chores without worrying about running out of water.
The water project was implemented last year and it created job opportunities during the construction phase of the communal taps.
I gained a lot from working in this project. I am now able to install water taps. Also, with the money I got from working here, I was able to buy groceries, Christmas clothes for my children.
The provincial government says the spring water protection project is an ongoing project which will be implemented in other areas as well. The project in this area will benefit a primary school, churches and residents who can use the water for irrigation and their livestock.
The school that is nearby is also benefiting, and the clinics, they are getting clean water from this project. And we are doing that as part of rural development as the department. we are not taking over the duty of the district municipality, that is a water service authority and a water service provider. But the president talked about DDM and he launched that project of DDM. So it's part of DDM, of working together of the different spheres of government.
The department has donated gardening implements and seedlings to encourage communities to grow vegetable gardens. The project can be a solution for water-scarce areas by identifying nearby hills and mountains with spring water sources. Lubabalo Tata, SABC News, Alice.
And that's where we leave it for today. We're back again next weekend. Enjoy your afternoon further.